This is Mo from 21st Capital. We're here with you with the first show of 2025. Let's make a powerful start. Today, I'm privileged to be joined by Chicos, the founder of Chase Your Dreams 24/7, a jiu jitsu fighter, a UFC coach, and last but definitely not the least, a Bitcoiner. Hello, Chase. Welcome on.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate the time. And today we have our CEO, Rusbe. Hello.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi, Chase. Welcome to the show. It's
Thank you.
nice to have you on.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, really excited to have you on. Would love to hear your story. What got you into your own business, maybe, and then we can maybe move on to talk about your story about Bitcoin and actually the most interesting part, what actually happened to you. I think a lot of people in the community have already seen the video you shared on social media, which has gone pretty viral, as everybody knows. I think it's going to be very interesting to talk about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said you wanted me to talk about a little bit about how I got
Yeah,
into
sure.
business. hmm
Yeah, maybe we start with your personal story. T Tell us a little bit maybe about yourself, what you do, about your own business, what you do in outside of Bitcoin, and then we start there and we move over to the Bitcoin part.
Absolutely. So, I'm a personal trainer slash strength and conditioning coach. Um, I've been doing that for 10 plus years now, which is crazy to think about. But I started out at commercial gyms, regular gyms. I kind of have a niche. I'm kind of better known for the work that I do with MMA athletes and jujitsu athletes. So like the combat sports realm, that's what I'm kind of more known for. But I work with everybody. I started Chase Your Dreams in, I want to say 2019 or 2020. I started it in 2019. 2020 is when I took it full blast because during that time it was COVID times, right? I was working at a commercial gym, but I started the business on the side and I was training people on the side. And in 2020, when the lockdowns and everything happened, obviously all the gyms here closed. Uh, but as we all know, the UFC was one of the few organizations or companies in the world that kept things running. And I had a couple of UFC athletes at the time. So that's when I decided to, fully commit to building my own business and building my own brand. And it was out of necessity, really, because we still needed a place to go. We still needed a place to train. Believe it or not, I was training UFC fighters like Marvin Vittori and Giga Chikadze, who are two top 10 guys in the world. I was training them at parks, and friends of mine had garage gyms. Like at this time, I bought some equipment that I can put in my gym, like one of those like Airdynes or fan bikes. I bought one of those for my house because we were just trying to do it by any means possible. There wasn't a whole lot of gyms open, but as things started getting more like keep going, I was like, man, I really need a place to be stable at. So I started shopping around the area for gyms that would like actually allow people to train out of there. So in June of 2020, I found a place, and that's really where everything started taking off as far as my own business. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much the story there. Yeah, it's been a ride, man. Listen, I was preparing guys like literally at parks that are training for UFC like co-main events at the time. Both of these guys have now had like main events. Marvin fought for a UFC title, and we were together. I mean, I still train Marvin to this day, even though he's in Florida. I still do his programming and whatnot, but we're just not in the same location. But all the other guys, I still have them here. But yeah, we were in different people's garages one week, in the park next week. Like it was interesting, like training guys for literally co-main events in the UFC, and we're here getting after it in the park. So it was an interesting time. It was a wild time, and
It's,
what an experience.
yeah, inspiring. I mean, you will see someone on the street gyms, and some of them might be MMA fighters, UFC fighters. That's amazing. Did you
Absolutely,
train with
absolutely. That's
weights
crazy.
there too? When
Say
you
it
were
again.
in the park, did you train with weights? Did you do lifting too, or were you limited to body weight training there?
I was very limited, but I did have bands, like resistance bands,
Awesome.
and we would get after it with bands. I would use a lot of jumps and sprints and like different, just getting creative with the bands. You know, I'll be the first to say, like, I'm not. I don't think I'm some creative or like some genius guy, but when it comes to the gym, that's my one place where that the gym and then the mats is one place where I kind of have a creative perspective. Like as far as like other arts, like drawing or stuff like that, or I'll be the first to admit I'm not I'm no Picasso or any creative mind like that. But when it comes to the gym, I like to think I'm pretty innovative in my approach and my ideology, and I literally, it's my passion. I lay in bed at night and I'm thinking of ways that I can like incorporate a new exercise. With that, listen, I think here's one thing that people don't understand. They see strength training and they believe that that it's just squat, bench, and deadlift. But the way I view strength training is a set of concepts and principles. And if you abide by those principles and concepts, then you can apply whatever it is that you would like, as long as it abides by those principles and concepts. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cookie cutter way of doing things. And that's one thing that I kind of hold dear to myself, and it keeps the gym fun for me, and it keeps it a place where I can kind of be myself, and like we all need to express ourselves in some way, and that's the way I express myself.
I wish I had gotten to know you on some happier occasion, but definitely
Mm.
from when I got to know you, I'm going to follow your jiu-jitsu videos too. It's not very visible, but I am wearing my rash guard for this interview. And
John Danaher style.
yeah, John Danner style. He even goes on dates in his rash guard.
Yes, yes.
That's crazy. So you're a fan of him too, yeah? John
Yes,
Danner.
I'm a big fan. How can you not be? What those guys do is
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
incredible. Like they're just yeah. There's levels to every game, and those guys are at the top of it for the last how many years, So it's incredible what they do.
Yeah, the
I
videos which
really
you. Mhm.
I really find this inspiring, to be honest, Chase. If you don't like, I'm not sure how comfortable you are, but when it comes to I mean, if I see you, you have also something with your arm. Is it
Uh-huh.
is it something you were born with, or you don't have to talk about it if you don't like to, but if you're comfortable talking about it, because it's
Hmm.
so inspiring, despite this with your arm, that you are so such an athlete, and you actually train others to be athletes. Is very, very motivating to me. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
And also submitting black belts, which was really inspiring.
Yes, crazy.
Yeah. So I was born that way. So
Ah,
it's
okay.
one thing that I've dealt with my whole life. Um, Luckily, my mom and dad didn't really put limits on me as a kid. Like I played all the sports, and I think a lot of people I think a lot of people get caught up in this, like they can get caught in a trap in their own mind of like being a victim a little bit. And listen, we're not all born in the same place, and that can be physically, that can be financially, that can be any. We can cut that a lot of different ways. But the thing is, I believe that everybody has the opportunity, especially in the country where I was born in, to make the most of it and be whatever we want to be. Really, like in this country, you can just do anything. And I'm grateful for that. That I was born here and able with the opportunity to just make the most of it. So when I look at myself, and I do these things, it's like I don't put a limit on myself. And I think that honestly, I think it worked out in my favor. And people can like take that and they would see like, oh man, it's amazing what you do. But I think it put a chip on my shoulder and made me even more determined to compete with other people and bring myself up to that level. It's not a limiting factor. I believe it's an enabling factor for me to really put in the extra work and do the things necessary to be able to compete with people who have both limbs or whatever it may be. Also, in martial arts, there's not a lot of people that are like me, so I'm actually a different puzzle for everybody else that I train with, right? Like it's they're not used to it. It's different, and you can see it as one less weapon or something like that. But in my mind, it's not that. I have something that you're not ready for, and I know how to use it. So I think, listen, whatever situation you're born in, um, I think if you flip the perspective on it, like life is a perspective. For me, it's all about perspective, and you just see, okay, you can look at all the weaknesses you have and all the differences you have, or you can look at it the other way and say, okay, but how can I make the most of this situation and turn my weaknesses, I say in quotes, and turn it into a strength. And I think that's what I'm able to do. So yeah, I just try to not put limits on myself physically or mentally. Like I can figure out a way to do things. And I also think it helped my jujitsu game and my martial arts game because when somebody teaches you something, they're teaching you from a perspective of having both arms or whatever they may be. But for me, I really have to understand the concept of the technique or whatever it is that they're trying to teach. And in trying to understand the concept, I can understand what we're really trying to do. Jiu-jitsu, and really, it's not about just the way that you're doing it, but understanding what you're trying to do. Again, that goes back to my mentality on how I program for strength and conditioning, or when I do it for personal training. I just understand the concept, and that kind of gives me freedom to apply those concepts and principles in the way that I see fit. So I think that kind
Yes.
of helped me, develop an edge. And I did have a chip on my shoulder when I was younger. I used to get very angry when people would ask me questions about that. But as you become an adult, listen, it's the elephant in the room, and I'm not going to sit here and not talking about it. I'm going to lean into it, and I think it really has become one of my strengths as a human. I think it's a big reason for my motivation and my determination as a person and as a man and as how I carry myself. I think sometimes if you want to lean into it and make it a bad thing, then it can destroy you. But if you want to make it a good thing for yourself, then it will make you as a person. And I think people need to lean into their uniqueness more than they lean into or make that a bad thing. So lean into your
Mm.
uniqueness and let it be a positive, and don't lean into it and let it destroy you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once we
Mhm.
had a session with the professor of our professor, who is Draculino. He's very well
Oh
known.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he had a fighter who had lost both of his legs, and he said, if you have a hip, you can train jiu-jitsu. That was really interesting. And when you are fighting with someone who doesn't have legs, of course you are not going to be able to do leg locks on them. So that is
Nope.
a big puzzle. So I think when you were saying puzzles, that's what you meant, that
Right.
a triangle with you is going to be different. I don't know how to pull it off on you with the left arm trapped.
Yeah,
And
it's hard. It's hard for people. No
um,
arm bars on that side. I'll tell you that.
exactly,
No
exactly. That
Kimuras
that
on
was the
that
next
side.
one. Yeah, so these kind of safeties that you are also going to have. And yeah, uh, you mentioned now, before people think that this is a different show and this is not a Bitcoin show, let's use the introduction as a segue to go to what you mentioned in your videos, that you got to know Bitcoin in 2020. How did your introduction to Bitcoin occur? How did you learn about it? And what does Bitcoin mean to you? And one of the things I loved in your video is that you said that I am still a Bitcoiner.
Mhm.
So I want you to elaborate on that too.
Yeah, so I started getting into Bitcoin in 2020. Of course, I had heard about it before, but it, you know, sometimes it takes a lot of exposure to actually like understand it and actually want to. I say this like Bitcoiners have a lot in common because when you first get into Bitcoin, you kind of like it's kind of you're kind of doing a crazy thing if you think about it uh, as you're getting introduced to it. As you are introduced to it and you start to understand it, you're like, oh, not getting into Bitcoin is the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. But when you're first getting in, you're kind of taking a big risk. Everyone's kind of like telling you not to do it. But I had a good friend of mine who also trains jujitsu. He he was telling me early in 2020, he said, hey, man, I just want to let you know that it's at a very good price right now. He was telling me around March, February, it's at a very good price right now. This year, it's going to rip. I'm telling you, whatever you have, just put a little bit in, just put a little bit in. And I was kind of on the edge for about 6 months. I think finally in October or November of that year, 2020, so about 7, 8 months later, I started putting money into Bitcoin, and at this time I believe it was at 18,000. So he was telling me about it when it was like 3,000, 2019, 2020. He was telling me about it then, but
We lost your voice.
um,
Now you're back.
Now,
Now you're back.
now it's coming back.
sorry,
Yes,
somebody was calling me. I apologize.
no
Um,
problem.
yeah, so yeah, but like I was
It
saying,
was back in
Bitcoin.
2019 when he told you about
Yes.
it, and
Yeah, he was
you
telling me,
got it.
but he wasn't like pushing me. In March of 2020, he was really like, "Hey, I'm telling you right now, it's at like 3 or 4 thousand, something like that, somewhere around there." And he was like, "Dude, it's a great opportunity. Of course, you don't have to pour your life into it, but I would, if you have any money that you are comfortable with putting aside, I would start now." And I didn't listen to him at that time. I think I hopped in later in the year. I want to say it was either 18 or 9,000. I don't know. It was somewhere around there. I forget what it was
Was
at
it
the end.
before or was it after Sailor? That's a good time actually to
You
remember it.
you know what? He was sending me resources. He would send me like videos. Hey, watch this video on YouTube. And it was right around the same time as Sailor started coming out
So
about it.
August 2020. It
Yeah,
was
I
August
got I
2020.
got in
You know
October
the
or
date.
November of 2020. That's
Yes.
exactly like when I committed to it, and boom.
Mhm.
And then when he was sending me these resources, I was watching them. I was reading these resources, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll put in whatever I can. And then I got to a point when I started like was reading this stuff and I was watching this stuff, and I was like, hey, I think this is like potential to go crazy. And I had already seen it start rising. It was going up already, and I was like, hey, I'm making a little something here. This is awesome. Like, uh, finally, I was like weekly payments 2 times a week. Anytime. So I pay my bills from my general population. Those are like my regular people who come in, not the athletes. I don't rely on the athletes to pay my bills, pay my rent, whatever. Anytime one of the athletes would pay me, I would take a good percentage of that money because I get a percent of what they get paid. I would take a percentage of that money and put it straight into Bitcoin. So those would be my larger purchases. So I was DCAing, and I still do to this day. The reason that I built up, you know, I read some stats, and it's estimated that there's around 300 million, which I'm being generous with these estimates. 300 million people in the world have any Bitcoin, and like less than 5% of that is estimated to have one whole coin.
Yes.
Okay, less than 5% has one whole coin. That's crazy to think about. So, it's 15 million people that are estimated to have one whole coin. Listen, I don't make a ton of money. Okay, I just was consistently putting money into Bitcoin bi-weekly, at least weekly for the last 4 years, and I was able to get 0.88 of a coin, which that's not like that's pretty good, man. Like if you think about it, like
That's a
I was
lot of money.
I was buying it all the way up to 69K, all the way back down to 16K. I never stopped. Like I never stopped, no matter
Di-
what. I
didn't
just
it didn't it worry you that it was crashing so hard?
uh So my friend would tell me, no, no, no. This is good because I think a lot of people can learn from this. Like, if okay, in my life, I have had money before, and I've lost it all. Just being stupid. I suffered most of my adult life. I suffered with addiction problems and stuff like that, and um, so for me, I was willing to go down with the ship once I started learning about it. I was like, hey, I've lost things before. I really believe in this thing, and if it goes bad, it's okay. If it goes all the way to zero, all right, I'm going down with the ship. I don't care. I believe in this thing. I think I know it's going to go back up, and like I said, I'm going down with the ship. It didn't matter to me. I've lost. I've had to start over before, and I think that's also given the situation that I'm dealing with now. I think that's something that like keeps me resilient. Is like, hey, I've lost it all before. It does hurt when I think about when I sit and ponder on it. I was almost to my goal. My goal when I got in was one whole coin. I was almost there. I was pretty close. Like 0.88 of a
Mm.
coin is pretty close.
Pretty darn close, yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you see Bitcoin at its current price, it's like those $2,500 purchases that I would make, those don't do the same. It's not the same purchasing power as I had before. But listen, it is what it is, and I think over time I can accumulate back up to a whole coin. I believe I'll get there.
Yeah.
And what
So
does being a Bitcoiner to you mean? And sorry, Roosevelt, don't forget your question.
no, it's okay. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Um, so Bitcoin to me, like I said, I come from humble beginnings. Okay, I didn't grow up with a lot. I wasn't dead poor. I wasn't homeless, nothing like that. I was homeless at different times in my life, but not when I was a kid. Um, and Bitcoin to me represents financial security in my future. That's it, it's hope. It's actually hope for me. That I can take this, and it can grow, and I can actually retire without having to work my whole life out of necessity. Um, if if I'm working when I'm 50, 60 years old, I want it to be because I want to. I don't want it to be because I have to pay my bills with this. And as being self-employed, as having my own company, I don't have a 401k. I don't have a retirement fund that I'm pouring into. Bitcoin is my retirement fund. It was my retirement fund. So, I pretty much put my life, or not pretty much, I put my life savings into Bitcoin for the last 4 years. But regardless of what happened, I didn't lose any faith in Bitcoin. I know that I made a user error, and that's on me. Okay,
Yeah.
I learned a lot from what I did. I now I understand even more about like um, being safe and secure with my Bitcoin. And I was told, like the guy who orange pilled me, he told me like, hey, those seed words, that's your life. Like you guard that with everything. But listen, when something like that, like you never think it's gonna happen to you. Oh, no way I'll lose that paper. No way I'll forget my pen. No way that can happen to me. So you're not thinking, at least I wasn't like, oh, I'll lose it. No way. Like I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, oh, come on, it's good. It's in my drawer or wherever it was. Um, and I'm not gonna lose that. But it was negligence. It was negligence on my part. And it's not a
Yeah.
fault of Bitcoin. And that doesn't like deter my belief in Bitcoin, not even one bit. If anything, I'm like, no, now it's even more important that I have to allocate more. I'm budgeting stricter now. Like no more DoorDash, no more any of this stuff that I was doing 4 or 5 days out of the week. It's like, no, like I don't have room for that. Everything for the next 4 years again, where all my extra money is being budgeted towards getting my stack back.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I really wanted Momo and us to get together to talk about this, Chase, is actually what actually happened to you is something that we hear on a regular basis. Because, as you know, we at 21st, we are a security company, and this is what we do with individuals. And we hear this story over and over and over again, individuals losing their stack because they just um, it's it happens. Even if you believe it will never happen to you, it can happen to everybody, because a Bitcoin is basically giving you the responsibility that people are not used to, right? So everybody is used to have the responsibility of their money at the bank, but here you are the bank. So if you
Yes.
really don't pay a lot of attention, a lot of things can happen. And this is actually the reason why we do what we do. And we actually wanted to talk to you with so much passion, because we are really curious about your story. And just one more thing, what we hear usually, what I'm really surprised, because usually people who lose their keys, they blame it on Bitcoin, right?
No.
And you don't do that, and it's probably one, because you understand everything better, and second, because of your personality, right? A lot of people have a huge ego, so if they make a mistake, they just blame it on the asset class, and they say, excuse my language, fuck that, I will never touch this again, and I will never buy Bitcoin again, right? So fortunately, that's not the end of your story, and you are actually stacking again. You actually made a huge wave in the community. People are actually empathizing with your story, and they're actually giving some of your sats back to you, which is
Hmm.
amazing. I saw that
Amazing.
happening on your profile. So maybe we go a little bit now deeper into the story, what actually exactly happened. Maybe you can share
Hmm.
what happened, what exactly did you do, what hardware wallet did you use, what security practices did you do, and how did you learn those security practices, and what exactly happened actually?
Okay, so the person who orange pilled me, he gave me every possible resource to like fill myself in about Bitcoin. And one of the things that he always preached on was get your Bitcoin off of exchanges, because and at the end of the day, if it's on an exchange, it is not your Bitcoin. Okay. He told me which I had the Ledger Nano S. Okay. He was like, this is a solid one. Use this. And he did everything he could, probably over 50 times. He mentioned, you should memorize that. You should store it in a safe place. That's your life. Memorize your seed phrase. He told me like memorize it, like have it in your head. And not only that, like he was like very adamant about, hey, protect that seed phrase, like your life depends on it, because it is like that was my life savings. um I think some of the faults or the negligence that I had was, okay, number one, I used my ledger twice in 4 years. Okay, I used it 2 times in 4 years. Okay, that's not a lot. uh, I was very unfamiliar with using it. And each time I used it, my anxiety was through the roof, because I was transferring my Bitcoin, my life savings onto this thing. And it was happening like that. And the first time I did a transfer, I did 0.42 of a coin. I transferred it, boom, all good, everything all good. Okay. The second time I used it, I was transferring 0.46. Okay. And I would do a test run, like $10 or whatever it may be, to I would do a
Did you
test
ever
run.
send money from it as well, or only incomings?
I never once sent money from it. I never once. Bitcoin is so precious and emotional to me. I have a problem. Like I was like, listen, I'm never gonna touch this, at least till I get to one coin. Maybe if in 10, 15 years, when it was worth whatever, maybe I would buy some land, or that's how I want to retire. I want to buy a nice property and have some land, and then possibly open a jujitsu studio, not to make money, but just to train with the locals. And I can live a simple life like that. I'll have some dogs, I'll have some animals on a land. Like that sounds like a great life to me. Um, so what I was saying is the anxiety levels were through the roof. Like when I was transferring this, was a lot of money for me. My life savings, like I said, I'm not some guy who makes a ton of money. I'm just a regular guy who has just been stacking consistently and putting all my savings there. So I transfer it, and we're all good. Like everything's all good. About a month or two ago, I bought a Jade, and I was going to transfer from my ledger to my Jade. Okay, so I set the Jade up about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks, I don't know, maybe 2 months, whatever the time is. right? And when you set the PIN code for the Jade, it's a 6 digit PIN code. Okay, Ledger has an 8 digit PIN code. Okay, so the first time I entered the PIN code in my Ledger, I entered a 6 digit and then I press enter. Boom, one strike. Okay, I was like, oh man, I'm, like right
You
away.
can do 6 digits though, just to let you know. You can do 6 digits on the ledger as well. But
No,
yeah,
yeah, I probably could. I probably
yeah.
could. I just, yeah, and yeah, mine was 8. Okay, and I don't know why. Listen, I was transferring 0.88 of a coin. Like, this is a lot of money, a lot of Bitcoin that I'm transferring over to this thing. And I don't know why I started going to like other numbers, but something in my head, I don't know if it was the anxiety, it just caused me to put in numbers that like are like, I know my code now. Like I know the code and I'm like, that's why it hurts so bad. Like I'm like, oh, like I know the right code. And had I not just given one wrong, like the 6 digit pin I entered, I believe on the next one I would have got it. But I didn't even really know. Like I was like, oh, it's okay. Like I'll be able to do it again in 20 minutes. Like, I've entered too many passcodes wrong in my iPhone before, and it might say 10 minutes, try again. But it said factory reset, like it told me like now you have to enter your seed phrase. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I have my seed phrase. I start looking like immediately. I can't find it. I'm like, oh no. I call my friend. Okay. I call my friend. I'm like, hey, or I message him. I said, hey, you call me right now. He calls me. I'm like, dude, I can't find my seed phrase. Uh, like, what do I do? He was like, bro, you have to find that or you lose it. I'm like, oh no. So I spend that. It's a Friday. It was 3 weeks ago to this day, 3 weeks ago. Okay. Uh, so I start looking that day. I'm like, man, I can't find it anywhere. Like, what the heck? I had a picture in my phone also, which they listen. I made a lot of mistakes. Having it on a paper was one. Having a picture on my phone was one. But I had it in a hidden folder. Boom. But then I remembered in August I deleted all my hidden photos, and I just did it all massively. Like every hidden picture I had, I just select all, delete from the deleted folder. Boom, all gone. Okay. uh yeah, I'm like contacting Apple support, maybe they can get it back. I talked to a couple lawyers to see if they can like do a forensics on my phone to maybe get it back from 5 months ago. But everyone's telling me, after 30 days, Apple's pretty good about deleting your data forever. So yeah, the following Sunday, I told my girl what was going on, and she doesn't know anything about Bitcoin, but she knows that was like my life savings and like how much it was worth, right? So we looked through the whole entire house. We like literally tore the house apart, looking like we were gonna move out. I searched every shoe, under the soles of every shoe. I searched every pocket of every jacket in the house. I searched in every drawer. I took the drawers out, checked underneath the drawers. And I live in a 2 bedroom apartment. It's not like some massive space where I can like, be hiding it. I don't have a garage where we store stuff. I looked everywhere. I can't find it. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, do you trust her?" I'm like, "Listen, she wouldn't know what to do with those seed words if I told her 5 times how to do it. She wouldn't understand what to do with that." It's like, no, for sure. We've been living together for a long time, and I trust her. I honestly, I probably should have trusted. I should have given her that passphrase and let her store it for me, because at the end of the day, she's much more organized than I am, and it would have been in a safer place. So yeah, after that, like it really set in. This was Sunday when like really started accepting it, that I wasn't going to find it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I still had hope. I was like looking out. Of course I was panicked and I was anxious, but I still had hope that we'll find it on Sunday. It's okay. We're going to find it. It's somewhere around his house. I would have never taken it out of here. The only thing I can think that would happen is if maybe when we've had a couple cleaners clean the house a couple times, or she could have possibly been cleaning the house and it was on a notebook paper, and it could look like nothing. Like if you don't know what it is, then you would see that and it would be nothing to you. You can easily throw that away. Oh, just piece of paper with some words on it, boom, trash. That's the only thing that I can think that would happen with something like that. I never once took that out of the house. I know that for a fact. When I stored it, I didn't store it in like a bag that I take with me often. I would never put it on my wallet because like in my head, I'm like, what if I lose my wallet, or what if I lose that bag? What if somebody steals my bag? Something like that. So that was something that I always took the proper measures to make sure I never did. Yeah, the only thing I could think of is that it got thrown away. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like I was devastated. I'm an optimistic person. I'm a positive person. I like to like I think what makes me a great coach is my energy and my positive attitude that I bring into any room I'm in. And for those first 3 days, everybody that I trained was like, "Hey, what's like, you all right? What's wrong? Like you don't seem like you're doing well." And I would kind of tell them, and they would, I would tell them the monetary value of it because not all of them understand. Most people don't understand the Bitcoin thing, and they would be like, "Oh my gosh, like that's devastating." And I'm like, "Yeah." It was Wednesday after training jujitsu. Jujitsu is very therapeutic, by the way. I started telling the guys, after what was going on, and they were like, "Oh man, that's terrible." And I said, "Hey," I said, "You know something? I've slipped, I fell, I've been knocked down 100 times in life, and I've gotten up 101, and this time is going to be no different. And it is what it is. I got to pick myself up and keep moving forward. And that's who I am as a person, and that's what I preach in my daily life. That's what I preach to all my athletes. That's what I preach to everybody I come in contact with. Hey, it's okay. You pick yourself back up. We've all lost in life, and we just got to keep going. And I started to cheer up a little bit after that. Of course, like when I sit and ponder on it, I'm like, no, because here's the thing, man. It doesn't affect my everyday life, but it does affect my future. So when I sit here and think about the future, I was good. I was like, hey, I'm gonna, Bitcoin's gonna be $10 million in 20 years. I'm gonna be able to buy that property and sit back and relax. But now it's like, man, I hope I don't have to work for the next 30 years out of necessity. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
What a crazy story. What a crazy story. But
It's amazing that after you found out that you lost all the Bitcoin, you were able to go to the gym and push through. And, others could see it in your face, but you could still show up. And that's really amazing.
Well,
And
listen, jujitsu and physical exertion is my therapy. That's where I get out those maybe sometimes negative thoughts, or sometimes those bad thoughts, and that aggressive energy that I have. That's where I get all that stuff out. And it's a time in my day where I can take off from everything else, and I'm only worried about what's right there in front of me and what we're trying to do right there. Uh, and it definitely helped me, like I bounced back pretty quick from this mentally, because I think not only am I a resilient person, because I think through adversity, without adversity, you don't have resilience. And one of the things that I can say about me as a person is I'm a resilient person. I've been through a lot. I've dealt with a lot. I've lived a crazy life. I've been in trouble. I've been all these different things. And a lot of this stuff I'm not proud of, but the fact that now I'm a positive influence for the last 10 years on kids' lives, on the athletes that I come in contact with, that means the world to me. And I think I try to look for the silver lining in everything that happens. And the silver lining is, hey, people can see me and know and actually learn to take that stuff serious. I've learned so much about security. I've met some great people who are setting me up with, like for example, seed stamp. My seed words will now be stored on metal sheets. I've learned about multi-sig, or like geographical locations. Multi-sig is a cool thing that I kind of learned a little bit about, where you have 3 different keys, and you have to have 2 of those keys to access your Bitcoin. So that's another thing that I thought about, or at least storing my Bitcoin in different locations, or not my seed phrase in different locations. A node is another thing that I'm getting educated about, and I'm looking into, and like putting it in a safety, like some kind of security deposit box or a safe or something like that, where I know where it's at. I don't have to hide it in my sock drawer or put it in a shoe or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, especially now that you have to learn this hard lesson, it's very important that you do it the right way for the next time you do it. But you know, it's encouraging because usually people, I mean, I know someone who lost $1 million in not in Bitcoin but in crypto. He lost $1 million in Tether,
Well, that's
and
why.
yeah,
I'm
probably,
just
yeah.
kidding. I'm just
Uh,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
but this person was so broken that he will never ever self custody again. You know, this is the typical picture of someone who loses his key. He actually doesn't learn from it. Usually these people just never self custody again because they're afraid that it's going to happen again. But fortunately, you're taking the other approach. You're actually learning from your mistake and you want to do better. And this is
Well,
pretty amazing.
okay, just to speak on that, one of the things that I was so drawn into Bitcoin about was that nobody else can control that. Nobody else can take that from me. If you remember, during those times where people like people were getting their bank accounts frozen for sending money to those truckers in Canada that
Yes,
were protesting,
Yes.
yes,
and that's a scary thing to think about. Okay, like for me that's frightening. Um, and the fact that I know Bitcoin, you know, it doesn't matter where I'm at in the world. If I have my seed phrase, I have my Bitcoin. When you look at any other asset, it's not really like that. I can't just carry a bag of gold with me and take it across country lines or state lines. It doesn't work like that. And your bank account, if you know, like in certain places in the world, if you say the wrong thing on social media, they'll freeze your bank account. That's terrifying. And not
Sure.
only that,
Sure.
okay, if I'm keeping my money in the US dollar in my bank account and the government decides that they want to send more money somewhere else in the world, they will just literally add zeros on a spreadsheet, on a whatever it may be, on a computer. It's not even real money anymore. It's not even paper dollar. Paper dollar
Yeah.
is 10% of the dollars in supply. It's not even backed by paper. They just literally add zeros to accounts like that, or add money to accounts, add ones and zeros to accounts, whatever it may be, and then boom, more money in supply. So say if I have $100,000 in my bank account, okay, and they decide to print out $2 trillion tomorrow. Well, now the purchasing power of that $100,000 goes down maybe 90 to 95, $90,000. It still says 100,000, but the ability for me to purchase things with that 100,000 is now less. My purchasing power is now diminished because why? Because they decided to take something and print more of it or add numbers on a screen, and I have no control over that, and that drives me insane. I don't understand why more people don't talk about that. Like they can literally just boom 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 on a digital screen, and boom, there goes there's more money in supply. So if you think about like your savings as like an iceberg, it's like they're literally just melting the ice, like it's melting, and you have no say in it. It doesn't matter what you say.
and
And
the
with Bitcoin, it's the
problem,
opposite.
yeah, exactly. And the problem is that it doesn't look that way because nominally it's saying the same number, but it doesn't purchase as much as it could before, right? That's the
Hmm.
problem. So it creates this illusion that people still have the same amount, but they actually don't.
No, no,
That's the scam, right?
and that's it's a scam. Like literally
Yeah.
in the last 3 years, or in the last 4 years, the dollar, 30% of the dollar has been created in the last 4 years.
Yes.
The money in
40%.
circulation has 40% now. I know it's more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
increasing, and that's
40%
insane.
of the 40% of the entire dollar supply has been printed in the past 4 years.
If you think about
Think
that, okay,
about it. It's
when you think about
insane.
that, it's crazy because then what does that mean? What does that mean? That means literally your purchasing power is going down because they're devaluing the dollar. So that's why everything is more
Yeah.
expensive. But if you look at things on a Bitcoin standard, I just read this thing the other day. In 2016, it was like 600 something Bitcoin to buy a median sized house in the US. Now it's like 4 or 5 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like I real estate people and all they try to tell me, oh, but I need to touch it, or I need to you can live in a house. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'll be able to buy multiple houses in the future with how Bitcoin is moving. Eventually, a medium-sized house in this country will cost zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. Eventually,
Yeah,
I believe it's going to be there. It's going to be 0.1 Bitcoin, and you're going to be able to
definitely.
buy a house. And
Yeah.
people don't see. I don't know. Listen, I don't. They'll see it when they can see it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that's the beautiful thing
Yeah,
about
this
Bitcoin.
is why you should also not worry, because you're still extremely early, and the thing that happened to you is already something that is definitely solvable, and you can actually mitigate it with a lot of new technologies that are available in Bitcoin as we speak, right? So for example, what we do at 21st is we help individuals to build vaults with collaborative custody, and without involving us in their custody having any form of control. But what we do is, first of all, we help them to build the vault, but we also keep one key that
Yeah,
in case they mess up with their setup, that we can still recover the money, right?
right.
So for example, something that we use in our vault system is something called a time lock. So what you could do, for example, in your case, if you had your ledger and you would take your what was the second hardware wallet you purchased? The
The
Blockstream
Jade.
Jade,
Jade.
right? Exactly. So you, in this case, you would have two seed phrases, right? You can put these two seed phrases together and then take our key as the third key, and you make a vault with 2 out of 3. And then you say, okay, if even if I lose both keys, what happens then, right? Even for that, you can have one recovery key that you give to your wife, and she doesn't even know what it is, and she won't be able to even spend Bitcoin with that,
Right.
because it's just a recovery key, right? We call it something like a rescue key, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if you lose both of your keys, using her key, we can recover the money later.
Right. Yeah.
So over time, we will find out that actually the blockchain knows that you lost your money because you're not moving the money, right? And then that key gets activated. So all of this is now possible, but not many people talk about it. Not many people know about it, and
Mm-hmm.
they wonder why these things happen. It's literally insane that
Yeah.
things like this still happen to individuals like you,
Yeah.
and it's
Mm.
unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but you're
Yeah.
already making it back, right? You have already, how much donations have you gotten from the community now?
I want to say it's somewhere around like point one two or 0.13 of a coin back.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
that's crazy. It's been incredible, man. Like listen, when I put out that story, I said this before. I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't ask for donations. I just wanted to like talk about what happened with some people that understood, and maybe I can, if there's one thing that could come from this, maybe I can get one person at least to, you know, go check on their seed phrase, go, which I've already had people message me say, man, I watched your story. I went and checked immediately. I had my seed phrase and I had everything in line. So that makes me, when I look at the silver lining, and I guess my message landed with a lot of people that, hey, take that serious. Make sure you check it out. I think, you know if I'm gonna make the most out of this, then I can be the face of storing and securing your Bitcoin safely. Then hey, I'm happy to wear that hat. I'm happy to wear that hat because uh you you think about it and like how much I lost, and I tell people this story also is like, for me it wasn't that I lost 90,000 or 100,000 or whatever Bitcoin is worth now. To me it's like I lost infinite. I lost 100 million. Like I would never sell all my Bitcoin regardless. Like I just wouldn't. Like I would sell some sats if I needed, maybe to make a big purchase, or there was a big emergency that I needed the money for. Then yeah, of course. But there's no monetary value that you can put on my Bitcoin. Like for me, it's greater than any dollar amount you can put on it, and because dollar to me is it doesn't mean anything. And
Worthless.
yeah, and to be honest,
Shitcoin.
like I don't want to, like, like when I think about my future, to me, it's not chasing a number of money. To me, it's chasing freedom of time and freedom of decisions. And money is a tool that I can use to purchase those things back. I don't want to have to work forever for an exchange of a dollar that's being devalued, and not have time or free will to really travel when I want to live how I want to live my life. And that's why Bitcoin was another big thing for me, because eventually I felt like I would be able to, you know, have the freedom of choice of, if I wanted to go somewhere, I can do it. If I wanted to work, I can do it. If I wanted to not work, I can do it. If I can do what I want with my time. I'm not chasing $100 million. I'm not chasing $1 billion. I don't care about those things. Like, that's really not what drives me. I'm not like a money driven guy. The reason why I want money is so I can live a nice life and I can do what I want. That's the only reason that I care about money.
That's what money is supposed to solve, Chase.
Yeah.
This is what
Exactly.
money is for, right? Money
Mm-hmm.
is actually the purpose of money, or the reason why we shouldn't live in our money, right? Many people live in their money because
Mm-hmm.
they have monetized their houses. Their savings account is their house, which is not a good form of money, right? Money is supposed to do two things, and the first one is the most important: to store your value over time for your future self. This
Mm-hmm.
is what money is supposed to solve, right? But our monetary system is completely broken, and it's not solving the most basic purpose of money, right? Which is that everything else, medium of exchange, is the least thing you actually care about in any monetary value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you actually work for every single day, people want to do what they love. People don't want to do what they hate. No one. If you ask anybody, do you want to do something you hate? They say no, right? So people chase their dreams, but, and I love your name, because your name is literally chase your dreams. It's because they want to do what they love, and they want to do it as long as they can, and then they don't want to work anymore. They just want to relax and they want to enjoy life, right? But you can literally not do it with any form of currency today worldwide. None of
No,
them,
no. Especially, I
except
mean,
with Bitcoin.
if you look at like society as a whole, and I think it's, you know, not to take away or take away power from the term slavery, but it's pretty much modern day slavery, because most people, they work just to barely make ends meet. Okay, they have just enough to survive. They have housing, they have clothing, and they have food, and they don't really have anything extra to do anything that they really enjoy in life. And if you ask me, that's just another form of slavery. What in prisons, it's the same thing. They give guys just enough to live. They give guys just enough to you get food, and then they have you sew clothes or have you put out fires or whatever it is, and that's just another form of slavery. Uh, so I think most people are slaving their whole lives, right? To then retire at 63 or 65, whatever the retirement age can be, and then you spent all your youth working for something and someone who got rich off of your labor, and now you have to, or now you're supposed to enjoy it if you're healthy, if you're healthy. Like, that's a
Yes.
big if, because by the time you're 65 or 63, most people are not health conscious. Most people are not taking care of themselves the way they're supposed to, because they're busy raising families and working, that they don't, and they ignore that fact of it. Especially in America, most people are not healthy. This country has a terrible health problem. And what then? You spend the rest of your years fighting off sickness, and then what? There's nothing left for you. You just spent your whole life in it, and I hate to say it, it's almost like a wasted life. But this is what society has set us up with, especially in this country. I don't know about all the other countries. There's a lot of other places that are much worse than that. But in my mind, that's a society built on, it's a slave system, and
Yeah.
it's sad to think about like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chase, you know what day is today? You know,
It's the
it's a
birthday of
special
That's what I
day.
Bitcoin.
was
It's
going
the
to
birthday
say.
of Bitcoin. Of course, I know it's the
Birthday of
birthday of
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, so we actually we're recording this podcast on a very, very special day, and I have something to say about this. So today is January 3rd. It's officially Bitcoin's 15th birthday, and in the Bitcoin community, we call this day proof of keys, right? It's a day where Bitcoiners push other Bitcoiners or new coiners or people who got into Bitcoin newly to take custody and take care of their custody, check their custody, and so on and so forth. And we are at the moment, as a security company, we are running a promotion for everybody who's listening. You can sign up with 21st Capital, and we should put the link in the description of the video, Momo. So for just $10, you can schedule a consultation with our team to check your system and make sure that the same story that happened to Chase will never happen to you. So this is a
Learn from
promotion
my
where,
pain.
yeah,
Learn from
learn
my pain.
learn from Chase Payne and book your consultation with us for only $10 for our security experts to check on your system. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And the second thing I wanted to say is we would love to welcome you, Chase, to help you with your custody absolutely free of charge whenever you are ready to do a multi-sig. So this, what happened to you, will never ever happen to you, because this is what we do. We help individuals to do this, and as a symbol of empathy and as a symbol to the community, we would love to help you on this day. Whenever you're ready, let us know. We schedule a call. We will do as many sessions as possible to set up your vault, and we do your setup completely from scratch, so your story never has this end again.
Absolutely,
Just
I will
wanted to
take
say.
you up on that offer. I do. So I'm currently waiting in the mail for the. I've been set up a guy named Rick Messett who also has a crazy story. He's a great guy. He lost 25 Bitcoin a little over a year ago.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I know him.
Wow.
I know him.
uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
So Rick.
The guy who stored his seed phrase in
On
his
key
password
pass?
manager.
With his
Yeah,
father,
but I
and
thought it was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, with
they
his
were on a
father.
trip.
Yeah.
They were on a Bitcoin trip. He opens up to check it out. They're all excited. They've been in Bitcoin for a long time, 10 plus years of putting
Yeah.
money into Bitcoin.
Crazy.
He opens up his computer. They're all excited. They're on a Bitcoin trip. I forget what part of the world they were in, and drained. Everything drained. So I'm telling you that to say that Rick has been a huge help. They've connected me with Seed Stamp, CoinKite to get a new hardware wallet set up. They've even connected me with somebody setting me up with a node. And I would love to take you up on that offer once I get those things in place uh,
Definitely.
secure that seed phrase properly. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we will do that for you, and we will do it completely free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. We will help you from scratch, and I would love to have you again after we do your setup on the podcast, and we can talk about your experience. And it was really, really lovely to meet you, to hear your story. I really feel positive that you will actually have more Bitcoin than you lost. You
Yes,
will, I'm pretty
yes, I will.
sure.
I,
Awesome.
You
I'm going to.
definitely will.
I'm going to climb my way back. Like I said, I'm not deterred at all. If anything, I'm hungrier and more driven than ever. That's just that's
Awesome.
here. That's here. Hey,
Awesome.
I want to thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the time and of you guys, and again, I appreciate the offer, and I will take you up on that offer. So appreciate you guys for reaching
Sure.
out and having me.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sure,
Thank you for
sure.
your time.
Send your email to Momo, please, and we will
Hmm.
send you everything over email.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll message you up right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank
Thank
you
you very
guys so
Perfect.
much for
much.
your time.
Happy birthday, Bitcoin.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday,
Happy birthday,
Bitcoin. Take care,
Bitcoin.
Chase.
Bye bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.